Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. I see we have some folks in the chat already. Super exciting. So again, thank you for joining us. You are viewing us on many platforms, and there are chat rooms everywhere. So please be sure and pop in. We love to get your questions and comments. And again, thank you for joining us today on the wonderful United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Much blessings and thanks to them always. So welcome, everyone. And today we have one of my favorite topics and one of my favorite people to be able to discuss this with. And it's going to be a deep dive into the death of the ego and spirituality. So we've all been told that spirituality is a journey of finding ourselves. But what if the true path is actually about losing ourselves? Today, we're exploring the most polarizing threshold of the human experience, the death of self. It's a process that is equal parts terrifying and beautiful. It's a total dismantling of the egoic identity to reveal the being that lies beneath. So to help us navigate this void, I'm joined by someone who has spent decades at the literal border of our reality and the unknown, Michelle Desrochers. She is a world-renowned paranormal researcher and lightworker who has witnessed firsthand what happens when the human self is under siege between the veil of these two worlds. So today we're going to go beyond hauntings and into the anatomy of awakening to ask ourselves the ultimate question: what is left of us when the person we thought we were finally dies? And of course, not your physical death, but your embodying death. So Michelle, let me bring you on board.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. And Happy New Year, Michelle.
Oh, you too as well. So happy to be here.
Oh,
And happy to be here with all you folks. Yeah.
Let's say hello to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So of course we have your dear, thank you, Wayne, your dear better half, or other half, I should say. Thank you, Wayne, so much. And of course, Heidi, our star sister, much love to you. And Stone Hobbit, thank you so much for joining us today. Who else do we have in here? Mish, always a pleasure to see you, dear one. And who else do we have in here? And as folks pop in, we'll stop and give them a big hello. So, how's your new year been so far?
Not as tumultuous as the rest of the year's been. So far, so good.
Yeah, so all 10 hours of it. I mean, however many.
No, I know. Yeah, so far so good. So far so good. I mean, it's a time of year, obviously with it's day one, all the resolutions come out, and I mean, I do what I always do. My day starts off reading articles, researching, doing that. Today's no different, and I don't know. It's nice because I get to hang out here with you, and then we have the open mic tonight as well. So it's great because it's just all the festivities are pretty much over.
Yeah,
at this point, right? So we get to all hang out.
Yeah, it's been a different holiday season as we talked about too. It's just vibe-wise been very different for a lot of people. So hey, Kevin, how are you, dear? So good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been weird to see, since
the
2020.
least.
Yeah.
To say the least. Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of another better word that fits. It's like clown world for the past 5 years.
It's been something. So it's probably the best way to leave it. But yeah, No,
Yeah, it's been weird.
absolutely. I think there's so many people around the world that are conforming.
Yep.
I think it's the best way to go with it. It's just, we have a lot of new people here that we're all sharing space, and we're all trying to just figure it all out. Some more so than others. Some
Yeah.
can do it a lot more easily than others. But I think that's what leads to what we'll be talking about a little bit today. It's just a matter of evolution, awareness, and not being
Absolutely.
stuck in that. A lot of what's happening, I mean, there's just it is ego, and it's just people not wanting to let go, a service to. I mean, I've got people in my own immediate vicinity
Mm,
who's very service to self, which is total ego. It's all about me, only what I want, this and that.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just, I think that's where we have to start. It's just it is all ego and not letting go of our ways, and you have to let go of your ways if you want to keep going within at least this reality, this place.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that. It's all about, me, because look at the word narcissist. We heard it a gazillion times. Everybody's a
Mhm.
freaking narcissist. So if everybody's a narcissist, no one's a narcissist then.
Mhm.
I mean, how could
Yeah.
everybody be one? It's impossible. But
Mhm.
everybody is, there's so many self-help videos all over about how to deal with a narcissist. And, in a way, it's kind of to me, self-reflective. I think people are really starting, even those that are not like awake or very
Mhm.
spiritual. I think they're just taking a deep dive in and they're trying to label stuff, which is, our squirrel brain doing that. We have to have a label for things.
Everything has a label, unfortunately, and,
Yeah.
when dealing with narcissists, it's tough because there are people who really suffer at the hands of narcissists, and then I see posts come up, and I'm looking at a narcissist kind of bad mouthing the narcissist going, "Okay, wait." So I think that's where self-awareness comes in, is
Absolutely.
is owning your part in things, and ego puts a damper on that, because it really does take away from the people who really do need the help, not just because you want to squawk about, yes, I had a narcissist in my life, rightly so, but two, it's like two magnets you try to push together. It doesn't help either. It's just a matter of, I think healing starts from within,
Oh,
right?
God. But it's so interesting how nobody wants to identify themselves as a narcissist. It's always somebody else. It's either
Mhm.
someone in the relationship or someone in the family,
Right.
but no one ever gets up there and says, "Hey, I've got narcissistic traits and I'm admitting it." But I mean,
Mhm.
there are definitely narcissists out there, for God's sake. There
It's just,
definitely are.
you know what, Carol, I think it's even in just every small aspect. I'll give you a perfect example. So my little prince, who's like, my grandson, was visiting over the last couple of days, and he did something that says, "Don't be nosy." And and I laughed about it because I was trying
Yeah.
to make light of it. I never like to make him feel bad. And he kind of went, I kind of laughed about it. But then on the way home, he goes, "I really didn't like that word." I'm like,
Oh,
"Why? Everybody's nosy. Grandma's nosy." Then it was okay. Then it became funny. He goes, "I'm not sure I don't like it." So, "You don't like it when you get caught and you're doing it."
that's right.
But, I own it. Yeah, I'm nosy. We're all nosy at some point.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So then it was like, "Well, okay then, I'll let that
Right.
go, and I can live with it." But
Right.
you own it, no matter how little it is, just own it.
Exactly.
That's where
Exactly. That's
that's
really
where it
cute.
starts, right?
Well, out of the mouth of babes,
I
it's
know. I don't like that word. It's bad. It's
right,
only bad when he doesn't agree with it. So it's like, all right.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, hi,
Exactly.
Crow. Yeah, yeah, it's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yes, no.
But I wanted to, and you've been engrossed in high strangeness since your early ages, like early teens, right?
Oh, from a
So yeah,
child. Yeah,
even as
child.
a child, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it really hit you in your teen years, right? Where it
Mhm.
became like real, where you were really
Oh, being aware.
grappling. Yeah, exactly. So, um, I wanted to first dive into the difference between religion and spirituality, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. So, we have religion, which is typically an organized system like of shared beliefs,
Mm.
rituals, community centered worship. There's this divine power that we're all supposed to be worshiping, while spirituality is more, to me, and everybody, it's more personal. It's an individual journey that we take, and we want to seek meaning and purpose, and we want to really connect with something greater than ourselves, and not be forced to worship,
Mm.
and forced to be told that we're sinners, and it's always like, you're bad, you're a bad person, you need to confess, that kind of thing.
Like the conditioning, you mean?
Exactly. I think
Spirituality doesn't have the conditioning attached to it.
exactly. We're more looking for peace of soul and seeking the realms of the universe, the multiverse. So you start, like, explain what your perception is of both. And did you grow up in a religious household?
Okay. Well, I look at spirituality as the knowing. Just knowing. You just know. You have a connection to your creator. You don't have to be within four walls to acknowledge that. You don't have to go and I mean, I have many, even colleagues who are just like, no, it's good to go to confession and things like that. But I don't feel you have to confess that necessarily to another person. There's a lot of institutions that are sort of getting a few spankings out there because
Mhm.
they've been showing a little bit of corruption, maybe some more than others. But I feel like if I need to confess, I can confess to my creator, and I can go out and sit on a park bench, or I can go out into the woods and ground and become a part of that. And that, I think, the age of spiritualism was really a key factor in that, because you can go to places like, I'll mention Lilydale because it's the largest spiritual community this side of the world. And it's where a lot of people who, I guess, have abilities can go to decompress. But you can go through, the fairy forest, and you could sit there and go to a place where they have inspiration stump, which is this old stump of this old tree. It's an old forest. And everything that encompasses this location, which is like a couple of 100 acres. You feel it everywhere you go. And you meet with other like-minded people who are all on the same track. And the feeling that you get is amazing. Now with religion, it's more conditioned for sure. And some people need that conditioning. Like they want that regimen. They love meeting with people. And you can do this even in spiritualist churches. It's a whole other different experience altogether. But you
Mhm.
know, it's that connection you make every Sunday or whatever days you go, meeting with other people and having the rituals of,
Yeah.
it's very much the same week after week, but there's a different lesson taught, a different topic chosen. And some people need that. And I think as long as you're getting something positive from it, it doesn't really matter. I grew
Absolutely.
up Roman Catholic, not practicing Roman Catholics. I mean, you went through all the rites of things through the schools and things like that. But we weren't practicing where we went every Sunday. It was a smaller church and it was a bigger community. So we didn't need that though. Like I didn't need that. I could reach from within, which is where I think everything has to start from within to make those connections. Because when things got crazy, paranormally speaking, in my life, Hail Marys were coming out. Okay. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys were
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
something,
Absolutely.
Catholics got it
Abso-freaking-lutely.
together with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, prayer falls under the realm of both
Mm.
religion and spirituality. I
Mhm.
believe each people that identify, still pray,
Mhm.
whatever prayer touches their hearts. I mean, I grew up Roman Catholic as well, but in a very strict environment.
Mhm.
Mass 2, 3 times a week,
Mm.
got the poop kicked out of me regularly by the nuns. It's like, not good, not good, not good.
The
But we're
nuns.
getting, yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
we're getting some really cool comments. Like, I love what Coral Karina said, "Confess to the stars, confess to the trees." Just do it safely. And I think Wayne said something great too over here. Look under every rock, you'll find me there. Look behind every tree, you'll find me there also. So nice.
That's what is preached, you know?
Right.
The kingdom of God, heaven is all
Yeah.
within you.
Absolutely.
When does, many people I think have lost sight of that.
Yeah.
It's within. Which means we look within. You just again, it's a knowing.
Mm.
I believe people who are spiritual and faithful, it's a knowing. You don't always need that proof. You feel it. You know it's there. You're
Mhm.
part of it. It's an experience. You find a lesson in everything, literally everything. Even if you're just walking, like I say, walking through the forest, you see something. It may just be, a grounding. Hug a tree. It may just be watching. Like I love watching nature. Then you just kind of watch how it interacts with two squirrels interacting with one another, or birds, or you just sort of you learn a lesson every day. It doesn't need to be taught. It's there. You watch it and you just, yeah, this is life. This is the circle of life. This is everything. It's all encompassing. It's an awareness.
Yeah. And it's funny because like the globalists, the elites, whatever you want to call them, I don't like any of the names for them. That's why I always say they, because whoever they are, but I mean, it most certainly is the globalists and the elites. They've done everything they can to pull us away from our own identities and our own spirituality. They've done it through education, through pharmacology, every area of our lives, poisoning food, air. I mean, you name it, it's been done. Keep us in a perpetual state of fear and panic. And religion is there that we're supposed to lean on that, and but at the same time we're being told we're sinful, bad people, and you're not supposed to look to nature and paganism and anything else other than what they're pushing to identify with God, Jesus Christ, consciousness, whatever. So it's such a place for humans to be because we're kind of stuck. It's like a push and pull between the two.
Mm, I mean, where I can go with all of that is having experiences early on, in paranormal research and meeting spirit people who remained behind partially because of conditioning. For
Mm,
example, because I mean, it was really staunch early days, like, going back into the, couple hundred years, especially like in the New World, right? The Puritans coming over 16, 1700s,
yeah.
they were really diehard. So then you meet spirits who are just like, oh boy, I coveted my neighbor's wife. I think I'll take my chances and stay here because the alternative, I'm going to hell. It doesn't look so good for me. So
Right, right.
they remain behind. And it takes somebody who can make them see and realize that, your creator, God is all forgiving and you're sorry for what you've done, or, nope. Okay, well, that may be a problem. But if you get a spirit who says yes, it's like, okay, then they teach you forgiveness as well. You just have to have faith in
Right.
in that as well. But I've seen many spirits remain behind because of the fears of the conditioning, which is sort of sad in a
Absolutely.
way too, right?
Absolutely. And it's funny because when I read about Pascal's wager years ago in college, I said, this makes so much sense to me. Pascal's wager is a philosophical argument, and it's based on believing in a God is a more rational choice because the potential infinite gain, which is heaven, is supposed to outweigh the loss of living a religious life, of burning in hell, damnation for non-believers. So it's kind of like a wager. So is it, yeah, I guess I'll wager, that there is a God because it's safer to do that. And I think a lot of people went down that road, but now with this global awakening that we've often talked about, and you talk often about on your channel, right? Um, about in the outer realm and all the podcasts you've been on about the dark night of the soul, right? So before spiritual breakthrough, many esoteric and other perspectives suggest that humanity is like in the labor pains of this new consciousness. So what does that mean to you, the dark night of the soul? It's not really what it sounds like.
It's not at all what it sounds like. Again, I think this is why there's just so much information that gets lost in translation. I always say, look within. Death of
Yeah.
the ego, which often means if you even interpret dreams, when you dream about death, it's often the end of something, but it's the rebirth. It's
Mm,
something else. It's the birth of something new that's coming. Okay, so let's explore death of the ego. Well, it's not the end of you. It's the end
right.
of the illusion that you were pretty much separate. If that makes any sense. So it's a version of you that you built, what you strive, you achieve, what you manage, what pleases you, but it begins to dissolve.
Mm,
So the ego death essentially is sort of like an unraveling of sorts. It's trying to remember who you truly are beneath all of that. If that
mm,
makes any sense, like you get into, I say all this background noise. So ego death isn't about destroying the self. It's
right.
about seeing through the illusion that you created for that self, peeling away the masks, peeling away the
Mm,
roles, the crumbling of this different personas that we've built for ourselves. It's creating a transition which happens, during this moments when that consciousness expands and you become aware that you're more than just your physical body and your physical mind. And that sometimes can happen through, I like to say everything is mystical. Some of us we get downloads and
oh yeah.
we'll realize this through education. We'll go, a light goes off, and you're like, ha, did not see that coming. You
Yeah,
know,
like epiphanies. You have epiphanies, right? These moments of
yeah.
clarity.
Yeah, but other times it's done through heartbreak, loss, trauma, or life-shattering moments that just sort of strip it all away from you, and the ego just can't control or make sense of it, so it begins to fall apart, you know? But it's only preparing you for things that are coming, because
Right.
you go through that, you start questioning. When you find yourself questioning everything, like the need to stay in control, that's big for me. I don't look at myself as this big egotistical person at all. I've had people say, God, you're so humble. It's like, well, I try to be, but there are those aspects of it where staying in control. And I think that's just afraid to let go of the wheel and say, like I've had to say to the universe, you know, okay, take the wheel.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hard. It's just like letting somebody else drive and you don't know where you're
Yeah.
going, you
Right.
know, and you come across these hurdles and you're just going full speed ahead. It's like, oh, you kind of it's hard to relinquish that control. And I'm really bad for that. I've always been a powerhouse that way, whether it's been in business, whether it's just been in media, trying to gain control over my image that people have created,
Mm,
for me, even through media, and trying to unravel some of that. It's just been, it's a journey, and I think that's what we need to look at it as, is when the death of something means the cessation of something and the onset and beginning of something else, the
yeah.
next level. To me,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, that makes total 100% sense. Um, I have a video here and it
Mhm.
kind of played in. Well, let's do this one first. Let me just get this up here. Because I think a lot of people are struggling between religion and spirituality. And I think a lot of that is guilt laden and it shouldn't be. Because there can be a bridge and a connection and have both, you know? All right, let me get this up here. Um Here we go. Okay. Let me just play it. Up, sound.
The Christian Jesus, what's the difference? Christian Jesus is about faith, belief, and worshiping God, while Gnostic Jesus is about knowledge, gnosis, and becoming enlightened. Christian Jesus came to die in a blood sacrifice to atone for sin. Gnostic Jesus was a divine spiritual teacher of knowledge and wisdom. He taught that all humans had a divine spark within us. Christian Jesus was a continuation of the Old Testament and called Yahweh his Father. Gnostic Jesus was the exact opposite. He argued the God of the Old Testament was the demiurge, a lesser false god, while the God of the New Testament was the true unknown God in the divine realm of light. Christian Jesus was all about church, hierarchy, worship, and obedience to God. The Gnostic Jesus was all about inner work and awakening. The kingdom of heaven and God was not outside you, but within. The Christian Jesus was literally God incarnate, and if you don't believe in him, you're going to go to hell. Gnostic Jesus taught we're already in hell, created by this guy's God, the demiurge, and humanity needs to awaken.
I mean, look at that. What sounds better to you, and what feels better?
I've always said I was a Gnostic.
Yeah.
I'm a cross between a pagan and a Gnostic.
Yeah, seriously.
I do tend to lean to the older ways. I mean, you have to, if you look back even through history, one was around a lot longer than the other. And you look at, from Gnosticism became the Essenes, became the Cathars. Cathars get wiped out, over 20,000 of them one night in their sleep in Carcassonne, because they didn't believe you needed to be a part of an institution,
right,
for your faith. They still had the same beliefs, in Jesus. They still had those same beliefs.
Correct.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. They, every aspect of these teachings have their flaws. None of it is flawless. I think you have to go with the one that makes the most sense to you. But like you say, which one makes the most sense? Again, I tend to veer away from the more of the conditioning. Like I love that Gnosticism even spoke about beings from the stars, and they spoke of the archons and right, so on. They had an understanding in early days of the church. I mean, even Galileo's, it's heresy, studying of the stars. And then now they've got one of the most sophisticated, telescopes and programs with endless amount of money going into it. So I think it's just a matter of, looking at the different aspects of that. I think we take different roads to get to the same place.
Exactly. And it feels right. It's not, and it's not fear-based, which I love. There's no threat, there's no fear. So, but you can still believe in Christ consciousness. And if you're a religious person or have been in that dogmatic, brainwashing, controlled way of living. So, I think it's really important for folks to think about it and remove the fear from your religious beliefs, because it doesn't feel, even as a child, it never felt right to be in a state of panic and fear every waking moment.
I agree with you. And I look at, I've worked with many people from religious backgrounds doing what I do in helping people with attachments and such. And I still maintain that the Catholics really got it together when it comes to, expulsion and exorcisms, and bar none, they've got it together. And I've seen the Christians come forward with their forms of deliverances that I've seen firsthand work on the spot, like amazing. There are pros and cons to all of it, really, all of it, which is why it's so important that we look within. And sometimes you can't look at everything so literal. Sometimes you just have to look at maybe the lesson, like read between the lines, and sometimes the lesson comes out and you're like, wow, see right there, that makes sense. I mean, I've had Micah Dank on my shows come through and popped off so many different aspects of astrology in just about every text, especially going back into the different biblical books and Book of Enoch and, the Gnostic texts and the Bible. And you start realizing it's just like maybe the way of speech at the time as well. Like there are theologians who've said no. I mean, it's a lot, again, lost in translation, mistranslated. This is
Exactly.
what they felt it really was. And when you read that, you're like, yeah, see, okay, this makes sense.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of stuff that's just lost in translation or taken
Exactly.
too literally. But
Mhm.
dig within yourself. It's where you're going to find it. I mean, Jesus himself said, the kingdom of
Is
God, my
within
Father, is
you.
within you.
Yeah.
So that sounds to me, even in Gnosticism and trying to teach you that it wasn't a place to look up. It was a place within yourself. So is it that we have to evolve ourselves to get to that place?
Right.
There are theories that when the body dies, we just change realities
Yeah.
while some keep looping back. Maybe we're just not getting it right. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories and there's so much information out there. I think at this point, it's like, what really resonates with you, or what do you really connect to? And then you just do your research and go to your, like where whatever your faith may be. Like I say, different roads, pretty much on the same journey. We're all trying to get to those answers. I've had people say, going through different religions and such, going, yes, but who is the actual creator? The gods have names, right? Who is the creator? And that seems to be the question that keeps coming up.
Mm. Yeah, I really like what Heidi just said. I believe there are truths in our religions, but I stand alone. That's kind of
Yeah.
based on what you were just saying.
Mhm.
You,
Yeah.
to find your inner truth, whatever works for you.
I'm
And
not
I
an
do
expert in any of this, Carolyn. I
believe,
just go with
right,
what feels good for me
exactly.
and what connects me to my creator, or what connects me to the universe, the
Mm.
consciousness. Like what connects you?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is too, we all know that there is light and darkness, good and evil. And there's that battle between the two. So whatever path you take, like even with Catholic Church exorcisms, don't other and I'm asking, doesn't other religions deal with exorcism the same way? Do they, or do you think the Catholic Church just nailed that? Like, or are there other religions that can banish evil equally as well? I mean, I never really looked into other, like how the Indians deal with it or the Chinese. I'm sure they must have exorcism rituals that they use, right?
Yes, I mean, I was present during a deliverance, one time. I dealt with a friend of mine, first off, to back up, who was, a minister for a Christian church out of North Carolina at the time, and I was dealing with a Christian family, and her husband was Muslim. And they had their own way of doing it, but he did not want to address it. So, we waited a year. I reached out to these people because they had a deliverance team that traveled the world doing deliverances. And what was interesting was, like I said, we waited a year. So they came in. By the time they arrived, there were 2 homes that were infected.
Oh,
Well, because they piggyback, right? These things. So there were 2 homes that were having the same problem. And this team came in and they did what was called speaking in tongues. I had never heard it. I was sort of
mhm.
like, and I'm kind of like, because I'm skeptical of everything until I'm, because
Yeah,
I'm not a born again Christian, so I don't, I'm not versed in all these religions, but I learn a lot in working with people, right? And they had the both places cleared within 2 hours. Never stepped foot in the second place. And it held for, I don't know, a couple of years, give or take. Um, I mean, I've worked with people from the Jewish community, I've worked with people from the Muslim community, and I think it's very important when you're working with somebody to work through their faith, because they're leaning on their faith, or maybe they feel that they've been abandoned by their faith. So it's just sort of bringing them back together
yeah,
with whatever it is that empowers them. and I've seen incredible things. The Roman Catholics, I mean, these are people who, give courses on this to their priests. I mean, they have proven themselves time after time after time. They're hardcore, and they don't just say, "Okay, we're going to come in and give you an exorcism." I mean, they look at all the angles, which is things that I've had to do. So if I'm working with a Catholic family, for example, I would have to, I would have to ask for either psychological or psychiatric assessments, two separate ones if possible, like a second
Oh, wow.
opinion, because
Yeah.
I know what the church is going to ask for, and that's the first step. And then sometimes, depending on the situation, they have their own psychologists or
Mm.
psychiatrists who will come in and do proper assessments, because you can't not imagine the similarity between psychosis
Yeah,
and
and possession.
attachment. They're exact, almost exact. So I could
Maybe
see why.
psychosis is possession. Mm.
But that's what I mean. It's such a fine line.
Yeah.
But if one can be assisted through medication, and when the medication doesn't work, which many of the cases I have been in, the medication doesn't work, then you're kind of like, okay, so now what? I've worked with psychologists who have said, yes, this is a possibility, and I need permission from the doctor of the individual before I will step in. And
Mm.
they always say yes. It's like, whatever helps this person, just don't let them
Yeah.
go off the medication, which I never do. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I am just a bridge of trying to connect the dots
Right,
to
right.
help people get to their healing point, wherever that may be. Something is leading them to think that there's a problem, and I'm just there to take the weight for a little while and to say, "Look, yes, somebody does believe you." That sometimes, just that alone is enough to put the fight back into you, to do whatever it takes. And sometimes it is something as simple as just, "No, it is psychosis and I just need medication." Sometimes it's something bigger.
Tough call.
Well, it is. I'm not a doctor. This is why I ask them to deal with doctors. It's not as cut and dry as people think. So I think this is why there are, so many steps to get to that point.
Sure.
But in the end, I've seen people become completely empowered. That awakening, that awareness. I'm powerful. I can do this. I used to have like an 18 to 24-month waiting list at one
Wow.
point, just because it's not just that, oh, hey, over the weekend kind of thing. Sometimes these things can last for years. And it's not fair to the people I'm working with if I'm taking on too many people. And some people don't want to be referred to other people, and they're
Mm.
willing to wait. So I would work with them either online or over the phone, and just like whatever it takes. And by the time I got to them, I'd say, okay, I'm free now. I can do this. They're like, no, everything you taught us, we felt empowered. It's like an
Oh, that was good.
education thing. Yeah. And then like they don't need me. That's the best thing I can hear.
Yeah. So you empowered them to kinda
Yes.
fight
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I taught them a little bit about what it's all about, and it's amazing the strength people find, and a lot of times that comes from their faith,
Yes.
whatever
True.
that may be.
I just read an article too that exorcisms are massively they're on the rise, like
Yeah.
exponentially on the
Mm.
rise. What do you think is accounting for that? I mean, you see this growth of spirituality, this awakening that we're having globally, and at the same time, exorcisms are growing exponent. Do you think it's just the demonic forces trying to stop that? They know that we're all evolving spiritually, and they're infiltrating us and want to stop. I mean, what's your take on that whole thing?
I think that's part of it. I also think that we live in times where you have to understand energy if you're going into the whole whoosh thing, where energy is food for
Right.
negative beings or certain type of people, for example, then we're being kept in that state of perpetual worry and angst and
Mhm.
pain. Many people over the last few years have lost a lot of people or
Right.
have fallen into hard times. So you tend to, you see, there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of grieving, there's a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of addictions.
Oh,
There's it all goes hand in
That too.
hand, but it
Yeah.
creates the same type of energy. This energy attracts other types
Right.
of energy that feed off of it and want to keep that going. It's a constant wheel. What I think we have to ask ourselves is, and I think it's cut and dry. Do these beings want to keep us from awakening? Whether it's the living beings that are at the helm, or
Yeah.
whether it is ethereal beings who are behind a lot of it. What lengths would they go to keep us from awakening? Would they use frequencies? Would they use, for example, distractions to keep pulling us into the constant fear, the constant state of worry?
Mhm.
When you see something, a distraction, always look at what are they trying to distract us from. Sometimes it's not always an event. Sometimes you get this mass awakening or this awareness, and it's just reeling that energy back in.
Mm. I think it's all the above. I think that these forces would use anything and everything
Mhm.
to stop us from
Mhm.
self-enlightenment.
Well, they don't want you manifesting. They don't
Right.
want you all having, abundance. They don't want you being aware that you're very much part of a much bigger thing, being consciousness. There's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of different things. If you're getting into theories that we're trapped in this matrix sort of thing,
Yeah.
this system disguised as real life, feeding off your emotions and looping your soul or harvesting your light. I mean, there's a strong belief that this isn't science fiction. I mean, but it sure is made to look like science fiction. But they want you to be disconnected from source. So whether you're in this matrix feeling or whether you're just in a perpetual loop of angst that's always playing out, in the end, right? It is something that, the theory is that we are asleep, that we're sleepwalking through this. But they're like, well, how do
Yes.
you get out of that? Only way you get out of it is by remembering who you are. Right. And like restore your 12-strand DNA, activate your tri-waves, like things like that. Like that is what connects you directly to source. Because you
Yes.
weren't born to survive in a place like this. You were born to exit this. And
Yeah,
and it's
oh gosh, that's so freaking true.
yeah, and it's not outside of you. You see, it's like within you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a clip I want to play that kind of
Okay.
speaks perfectly to what you
Yeah.
just said. This kind of blew my mind. Let me
about God. In my model, consciousness is fundamental. It's the source, and it is a system. It's an information system. Consciousness is awareness. I define conscious awareness with a choice. Very simple definition. Now, our awareness right now is only is information we gather with our five senses. That's it. What we hear, see, smell, taste, feel. If we take those away, what are we? You're in the Descartes moment. You are aware that you exist, and you're conscious of that. Nothing else. So consciousness takes in data, and it processes that data, which means it needs to determine what does that data mean. It checks it against memory. Conscious has memory. How does that look according to what I've experienced? So it takes in data, processes data, has memory, and then has output. What does that sound like? It's an information system. You start with the simplest piece of consciousness, which is an aware piece of consciousness that is only aware of two choices, A or B, 1 or 0. That's it. Now, if you let that evolve, how does that evolve? Consciousness evolves by lowering its entropy. Now, about God. In my model, consciousness is fundamental. It's the source, and it is a system. It's an information system. Consciousness is awareness. I define conscious awareness with a choice. Very simple definition. Now, our awareness right now is only is information we gather with our five senses. That's it. What we hear, see, smell, taste, feel. If we take those away, what are we? You're in the Descartes moment. You are aware that you exist, and you're conscious of that. Nothing else. So consciousness takes in data and it processes that data, which means it needs to determine what does that data mean. It checks it against memory. Conscious has memory. How does that look according to what I've experienced? So it takes in data, processes data, has memory, and then has output. What does that sound like? It's an information system. You start with the simplest piece of consciousness, which is an aware piece of consciousness that is only aware of two choices, A or B, 1 or 0. That's it. Now, if you let that evolve, how does that evolve? Consciousness evolves by lowering its entropy. Now
that's kind of crazy. He's equating consciousness to the God is information. Like we have our 5 senses. That's all. I mean, he blew me away when he said, if you take that away, if you take away all of your senses, what are you then? You're just your consciousness, right?
That's
Like, that's the bridge.
It is. And you can experiment with it just by putting out a conscious thought. Like,
yes.
like how many times have you heard me say, you know, my little experiments when I put out, like, maybe it's a song that keeps playing in your head and you keep singing it.
You were saying.
Right? Yeah. The word swell. That was a big one for me because not a lot of people use that since like maybe the 50s or something. I recently saw it on Stranger Things. I'm like, ha, there it is. But it's just like, it's one of those things, right? Where you just put it out there and see what happens. And when I did that experiment, I just started watching it and I only put that word out maybe like a handful of times. I kept saying, "Oh, that's really swell. That's swell," right? And next thing you know, I start seeing it in places, or start seeing the song in certain places, or I started seeing certain words, like even like on billboards and things like that, like synchronicities. And it is, you know, you get back what you put out there. So if you're projecting things into the consciousness, it will come back. Right there.
Yep. Heidi, energy flows where attention goes. Your thoughts produce your reality. Yeah. But do you think that God, because I think that's something we all struggle with during our journey, is asking that question. And you mentioned it before, you know, who is God? What is God? Is God universal through all religions? I mean, there's a lot of religions that beg to differ that. They think they have a different God than other people. And I think therein lies the big problem. If we all
battles have been waged over religion.
Yes. And still are.
Yeah.
And still are. If we all had a universal concept of who God was, what if we discover that God is truly just like that gentleman just said, information, zeros and ones? I mean, what if that's the reality of the universe and God, that it's all just data? I mean, I know it sounds weird.
No, it might be. Again, maybe you're getting into the matrix thing too. Like, everything is mathematics. Tesla believed it. Everything is mathematics. So I think you can definitely lean on the fact that there's probable stuff there. But you also have to remember that, you know, within our consciousness, you know, because I'll make 2 points before I get to this, you know, if I can remember it. Okay, I can't remember the other one right now, but so we're gonna go to this one. My brain goes off in so many different directions. It's not even funny, you know. Okay, where I was gonna go with, you know, is you get logical people who question everything, and you should question things and do your own research. When it comes to God, they don't question it. Many people don't question it. It's a given. It comes down to the knowing. You know there's something greater. Right. Or on the flip side of that coin, there's a conditioning. Some things are conditioned into us more than other things.
Right.
I like to think of it as the knowing. You just know there's something bigger than what you are, but then you have people who don't believe in anything. And I've met some of these spirit people who are complete atheists, don't believe in anything else. Why don't you just, like, you know, pop out of here? I can do that. Where am I supposed to go? Oh, you know, and you help move them across, and you realize you usually will have people waiting for you, and it's just like they'll take you where you need to go. Like, it's just, you know, it's just, again, it comes down to conditioning. But if you don't have any belief, it's really tough. But when it comes to soul memory, Okay, because we don't remember a lot. We
Yeah,
don't
we had
remember a
that
lot. We
wipeout. They wiped us out.
constantly. And I read something interesting, today on soul memory. It says we only retain in our soul memory what we have consciously learned and integrated. Here's the thing.
Mm,
Integrated during our physical incarnation, so in the present. And what's important, this is a part that's very important, is all souls progress. Okay, all soul progress, rather, it's not earned. Okay, like
mm.
such as plant medicine or NDEs,
Yeah, yeah.
unless if it's not integrated into your consciousness, you will lose it. So, example, if you get into the Hermetic laws, okay, wisdom, which is considered fires, is fixed. So you
Mhm.
burn it into your soul through struggle, usually, right? Hard
Yeah,
times, intuition. It becomes those experiences become intuition. You kind of go, if you burn yourself on the stove, you kind of go, oh yeah, I don't want that to happen again. So
exactly.
you embed it into yourself, and you will take it to the next life and kind of go, oh yeah, because not every child learns that lesson through touching the hot
Oh,
stove.
no.
They just have like your instincts, I guess. Then you have knowledge, which in the Hermetic law is air, can be very
Mhm.
volatile. Now, like I was saying earlier, you can sometimes access some of this stuff, through visions and mystical
Yeah,
experiences, but a lot of times it comes through reading and just knowledge and visions and things like that. It's a
absolutely.
blend of everything. But if you don't integrate it, it's like a dream that fades away in the moment. The minute you go into like your next level or in a new body, it's gone. So the
Yeah.
key is, yes, consciousness, yes, awareness, but it's also integration while you're here. Like how sometimes like Edgar Casey was a perfect example because he
Oh, yeah.
could heal people by just tapping into them and saying, "Well, this is you in another life," and blah blah blah. So, is it a matter of we do come forward with fears? For example, if you drowned in one life, you're going to probably have very possibly people who have had fear of the water, not knowing why they fear the water.
Right.
You know, there's certain things that are embedded into us that we bring back with us. So that would be, I
Oh,
would
I agree.
imagine, the
There's
Hermetic
one.
wisdom law,
Right,
right?
exactly. Think about it, like, I know a lot of what happens to us happens between, birth and, like, 5. We're so ingrained
Mhm,
at that point, even with who you will be as a person, your personality, it's already, like, there by the time you're 5 years old.
mm,
Um, but do you think that, and I find it so interesting how, with this vibe shift that this younger generation is having, I guess it was Gen Z and Alpha, whatever they're called, Alpha
mm,
Z, whatever, they're experiencing high levels of anxiety and burnout, more so than any generation.
mm.
This bottoming out, do you think it's a prerequisite for awakening, or do you think it's the opposite of that? Like, do you think social media is as enlightening as it can be? And I mean, we have these podcasts that hopefully are helping folks. It just seems odd to me that that generation of youth is experiencing such, while they're trying to evolve spiritually, they're having these immense levels of anxiety and depression at the same time.
Yeah, I think, I think the next generation, the little tots that are coming in are
Yeah.
going to be better prepared for some of this. But I think it's like throwing caution to the wind and just kind of going for it. But if you get into awakening itself, all right, they have like it's easy, yet you can be tricked is what the saying I lean to, because you have things that are like a false light, for example, which is really hard to spot, but it feels good at first, sounds really good, it sounds like it's got a lot of promises, but it also it says things like, "Just stay positive, don't look at the dark, just trust the message." It's not letting you do this exploration on your own, like,
Mm.
it tells you the answers that are outside of you, but you actually need to um learn the lessons. Like it doesn't bypass pain. It just kind of guides you
Right.
through it, right? So you I think are so many people falling for that false light, then they have this hard hit and then they
Yeah.
fall into these anxieties. We are living in a time where the pressures in this world just trying to exist right
Yes.
now is very difficult. Most young people will never be able to afford a home even.
Oh,
Like,
no, it's tragic.
you have plans, I mean,
Yeah.
you're conditioned. Your parents bring you up with this, no, you can be anybody you want to, you can work hard, you'll get it.
That's what
And
we were told.
yeah. And it makes it really hard because it's just like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
We're just not in the time for it. So if you're looking at that, if you've got the false, the false light, whereas the real light will still walk you through all of it
Yes.
because you need to learn the lesson. It needs to be embedded into you. False light's just, again, distraction.
Yeah. That's
I
such a
think,
great
they know enough. And I say, whatever is out in the ethereal or the physical that's up there, they know enough. The physical people at the helm have
mm,
access to knowledge and education that most people don't. And if you are in the right circles, you will have access to. People think a lot of these ancient mystery schools are gone. No, the knowledge has been
right.
passed down, and elite
Yeah.
families still
Yeah.
have access to them. Okay, private libraries throughout the world, Vatican libraries, there are organizations and people who have all of this information. They know that we are, as the human race, as human beings, that we are very powerful, that we are like machines, right? This is
Mm.
why they don't want your body to be healthy. I mean, when you're looking at different aspects without getting, bringing too much attention to the whole thing, where it's like at one time they're saying, no, even naturopathic stuff, no, we're going to outlaw that, blah, blah, blah. You can't even buy this, can't buy that, because they don't want you that way.
No.
And that goes up here as well. That's why there's so much
Absolutely.
emphasis put on things in the environment
Yeah.
that will take down the machine, and then all the angst takes down everything else.
Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
distractions are all part of that, because if
So tragic.
if you're distracted and you're full of
Yeah.
hardship or angst on
Mhm.
top of the distraction, you're not going to go looking to better yourself. You're not going to go looking to enlighten yourself and to evolve past the prison cell. You know what I see
God,
what I
that was
mean?
so perfectly said. And I think you're right. Maybe this, that those 2 generations in particular, the Gen Zs and the alphas are really suffering from that right now. And I
Mhm.
think you're right. Maybe the younger kids, like my granddaughter's 8, and I know your Prince is around that age, a little younger.
No, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
there's hope for them. But you know what's sad too? I saw a short, this girl, she was a Gen Z and in college, and she said real quickly, I earned an A on a final exam, and I was so proud of that A. I got a 95, and you could tell she said, I was up for days studying, and she really gave it her all. She said, and Timmy, who was in my class, he got a D. So my professor came to me and said, well, we're going to split the difference. You're going to get a B, and Timmy's going to get a C so he can pass. And she was livid at the
Mm.
prospect of that. And that's like a soul crushing thing to do, to take away someone's achievements.
Mhm. But
Give
that's
it
the idea.
right.
How about winning first prize in
Right.
something, whether you're an athlete, in high school, triathlon, "Oh, I won. I get the winner, first place, second place, third place."
Yeah.
Is that good for a child, or is it sort of making you feel like second best? Some parents are like,
Oh,
"No,
it's soul
they shouldn't
crushing.
get that because they need to work for it." Other parents are just like, "Oh, well, it's nice, made them feel good and that you
Yeah.
can achieve anything." Yeah. Right there.
It's funny. I heard someone else saying the same exact thing today about these unions.
Yeah.
But all these things get in the way of, your spiritual development and growth. Like if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, you need food and housing and, shelter. And then you can start to get to the top of the pyramid and grow spiritually and attain these. How can you get there though, if you've got a system that's crushing your soul on a daily basis?
I think it's recognizing it.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's recognizing it because you get these, you can get into what are called like for consciousness, like different like traps that could look like you're awakening, right? So I think it's recognizing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, like for example, being spiritual. What does that look like? Well, for example, I have high vibrations. Maybe not. Maybe it's a low vibe. But you can't be around people who don't have, who you're not really jiving with, or you can say to yourself, no, I'm just beyond that. So what are the hidden mechanics behind that? It's the ego again, rebuilding that throne. Right. The inside this spiritual identity, right? It's not wisdom, it's protection. So I think you're looking at, superiority is often like a trauma response, right? So if I'm above you, you can't hurt me, sort of thing. That makes any sense. So I think it really comes down to, again, just be aware and look within. Be a good human. That's probably the best way to put it. Be a good human. Because if you're not, I don't think people realize your time spent here in the now is so short-lived compared to what comes next. So do you get looped back in? Let's say you get looped back in. Let's just say that's a thing and you get looped back in.
Probably is.
Well, you have to kind of ask yourself, like there's a whole lot of emphasis put on past lives and reincarnation. And it's a thing. It's a matter of where do you get to reincarnate to? Another reality, another place, another life, on another planet. It's all possible. Or is there something here like, if you get into Gnosticism, the archons who just kind of suck you back into this loop, right? Like go to the light. Well, when you're born, you're kind of going into the light too. So you're kind of going into the light. It's like you're exiting one light, kind of just going through this long tunnel, which can be a birth canal into a whole other light of God, I've been recycled. So let's say let's say that's a thing.
That's funny.
Right? Then you're still coming in with this angst and this hardship, and you're just like, you're not evolving out of it. But if you think about the conditioning again, why is it so important? When you're reincarnating, start looking back at a lot of these DNA sites, which is strongly believe they were looking for something specific, but they've already proven that one of these sites was fudging information, that it was not even accurate because some people, the same people were sending in the same information to different sites, because they wanted to second opinion, right? So one of these was fudging things. Yeah. But a lot of it is like, oh, hey, look, you were related to this king. You were related to this bloodline. You were this or this or this. What's the flavor of this year? Okay. So, and that's not every case, but it was a lot of cases because people did experiments with it. They didn't just take it at face value. They did their own research, right? And it didn't match, let's say, a lot of the stuff. Like I was fortunate because I had an uncle who actually wrote, a big novel based on one side of my mom's side of the family. So it was just like, oh, wow, we had a lot to go on.
Oh, wow.
With that being said, there's this emphasis of this glorifying it. So is it to accept the loop? And yes, I'm good with reincarnating because this is what's been like. Why can we embed things like that into ourselves, but we can't embed basic stuff, that will help us to evolve faster.
It's so true. Gosh. Mish just made a funny statement. She said, when you're a moth, you go towards the light. When the light...
Always a logical one, Mish.
When I mean, the light kills them, though. I think they're trying to go towards the heat, though, and they just
yeah.
right. I mean, why would a moth
Yeah.
do that if
I know.
their demise?
I
It just
know.
doesn't make sense.
I
But
know. It's
you know,
funny.
we always look to nature for like these answers, and then we see
Mhm.
something like a simple moth attracted to the light, and the light ends up killing the freaking moth. So
It's true. It's true.
I don't
I
know.
think we also have to let go of attachments, and I always joke about, the comment. My son knew this in his early 20s. He said, he's a big researcher as well, one of my sons, and said, "I'm just an attachment to you." I'm like, "Mm-hmm. Okay." Didn't say anything until my grandson was born, and I said, "Look, honey, I have a new attachment to love." And that didn't go over very well, but in my infinite wisdom, I thought it drove the point home quite well. But he
Yeah.
was right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He was right. We attach to people, places, things, and I think
Yeah.
a good part of you know being on the evolutionary scale is you have to let it all go. Right? So we have to let it go. Hey,
I don't
Annette.
know. I don't know if I want to recycle back into this.
Well, I don't know that you want to recycle at all. I think you want to kind of go off to the ether someplace and
Exactly.
go to, like, there is that theory that when the physical dies, that we just go into this other reality. So,
Yeah.
but then you get this theory that we can shift reality. So isn't that kind of like cheating? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And then sometimes it can be so overwhelming, like all this. It's almost as equally as annoying as religion in
Mm.
terms of trying to like find your comfort spot there. There's just so much information too in the spiritual realm. There's
Mhm.
so many theories and like there's a thing called the quickening, right? Many
Like the
spiritual
Highlander. Yeah.
right.
Woohoo.
Exactly.
Keith
Called the
Richards.
Quickening. That was such a great movie. I freaking loved it.
Me too.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then I watch it again because it was just a
I think
kick-ass
they're
movie.
doing a remake
Oh, that'd be. I wondered, like,
with
bring
Henry
that
Cavill.
back.
With Henry Cavill, apparently. I'm like,
Oh,
all right,
nice.
sure.
I'd watch that.
Mr. Witcher in a kilt, I'm down. I was like,
But it was such a kick-ass movie, honestly. They need
it
to
was.
bring.
But
Yeah,
movies touch on things hidden in plain sight.
yes. Oh my God. Like, are they just giving us bits and pieces to torture us, like of the truth? But so you've got this quickening, which is in the spiritual realm and teachings. It's supposed to be a sensation that time and I'm trying to wrap my head around this is moving faster than the density of the world is thinning. So
Mm.
you've got the Schumann resonance. To me, that sentence is very perplexing. So you've got time is moving faster than the density of the world that is thinning. Do they mean the veil is thinning or just the dense? Yeah, I guess it would be, right, Michelle? The
Yeah.
density of the
Well, we're at different densities, right? People believe that we're
right.
three-dimensional, four-dimensional, three-dimensional is third density, fourth dimension is fourth density, fifth density. The higher up you go,
Right.
the more you go up the evolutionary scale, the more evolved that you become. A lot of extraterrestrial beings that come here, or even those that are already here, many of them are already at a higher density. Right? I mean,
Mm,
how can we even measure time? Time doesn't technically exist, number one. Number
exactly.
two, okay, we're on the Roman Gregorian calendar, which is not even where we're supposed to be.
It's all fake news.
It's just like, so,
Like, that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. It's all so difficult. Like people think, oh, it's going to be such an easy path. I'm just going to meditate. And
Mm,
no, it's the
right.
loneliest, scariest journey that I think, in my experience, which has been many decades, that I've ever thought possible. It's the loneliest, scariest. But as I said in the opening, it's absolutely beautiful and euphoric and wonderful all at the same time. So you've
Balance.
balance,
Balance.
right? Right.
Right. You're having like the two sides of the coin is what it sounds like you're explaining to as to how you're feeling.
Absolutely.
There has to be a balance. So just based on what you said, is it letting go the fear and embracing the change? Because that people do not like change. They don't,
Oh,
on an
they hate.
average, like change. It's easier to hold on to the fear because at least you know what you're fearful of.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
with the change, you don't really know what's coming. So how can you let go of your fear?
Right. It's security. Fear is your security blanket because you're so used to that. Your brain is so triggered to be
Yes.
used to being in a state of fear and panic all the time.
Yes.
So that's what makes it so scary to let go of it.
But for a reason. Why do people fear change? That could be great things. The world just went through crazy time, you know, and there were people during these crazy times that said, but some of the most amazing things are coming. And you're kind of like, how? You're living through the crazy still. And you're kind of going, where's the good times? Where are they?
Right. Exactly.
because it
Oh,
because it
funny.
opens you up to the fact that after the crazy times come the awakenings.
Yes.
Because of the crazy times,
Yeah.
there are the awakenings and the awareness. People are just like, no, we're not taking anybody's word for this right now. You wanted to learn yourself. And I'm huge. I'm always learning. I always say, try to learn one thing every day. Doesn't matter how small. Keep it in your repertoire and let it ingrain into you,
And it will.
and it will.
I have
Because
to laugh.
through trauma comes incredible knowledge.
Oh, God. Yeah. And I don't think we're here to suffer. I don't believe that at all. That like the whole purpose of us being on this in this meat suit is to
Mhm.
suffer. I don't believe that. But I think
Mhm.
through suffering, you awaken spiritually, you grow spiritually, and so much more through that. Like we just said, but I have to
Mhm.
laugh. What Mish said, she said, it is lonely, Carol Ann. In the real world, we're surrounded by people who don't think the same. Thank goodness for online. And I always said that you find your people, and we've talked about that before, Michelle. You find your people. And
Mhm.
I thank the universe for that because
Mhm.
through that connection, that helps us all grow spiritually because we're a family. We think alike, we feel alike. Did I miss saying hello to someone?
No, Sherry just came in, so I just yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. No, it's true. Find your people, find your soul
Yeah.
circle. I mean, if that theory stands true, then we all, for a
Yeah.
most part, I mean, some remain behind and those, come forward with other people. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't see them for very long. Sometimes people come in and out of your lives either to teach you a lesson,
Yeah.
or for you to teach them a lesson. Like it's a perpetual cycle. And
Absolutely.
everything is a lesson.
Gosh,
Everything.
so true.
You have to
Yeah,
recognize the lesson though.
yeah.
Because if you don't,
Bingo.
the universe will keep the universe, the creator will keep presenting you. Because some people are just like, why does this keep happening to me? Because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah,
getting it. And that was a hard
yeah.
lesson for many of us to learn. I'm just like, okay, I'm either thick as a brick or I'm missing it. Probably both. But the fact is that when you realize that there's a lesson in every single thing of your existence, right? You could be just watching a film thinking you're having a brainless day. And somewhere in that film, you might get an aha moment. It might be a good one, might
Oh,
not be a
yeah.
good one, but you'll be left thinking, God, that was just crazy. Is that a thing? But
And you know what's annoying about that? You get these like moments, like whether it's watching a film, reading a book, where you have these epiphanies and like things click, and you get like the Holy Ghost shivers and the whole thing.
Mhm.
And then you just go about your day and you're doing your laundry, and it'll stay with you for a day or two. And then you get reminded of it like a month later, and you're like, how could I have forgotten that?
If you're lucky, you'll get reminded of it, because the
Yes.
idea is to interconnect with it and to imprint it so you don't forget it. That's the thing, is just that if we're supposed to really resonate with that thing or really get it, jive with it, if that is meant for us, it will imprint.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be, like I say, like a memory that's just gone right out the window.
That's such a great point. I love that. If it's meant for us, it'll imprint us.
Mhm.
in such a way.
Oh, good or bad. How many times you somebody just aggravate you, let's say when
Yeah.
you're driving and you're just like, but that energy that you put out there going like, you're an idiot at the wheel, get off the road, do us all a favor. And you realize, what's the lesson in that? Because you let out so much emphasis and it created so much angst in that moment that it stays with you. I could
Yeah.
probably remember a dozen incidences like that, and there might be a dozen more that I don't, but there's a reason that it happened, and there's a reason. Sometimes it's a matter of thinking what was going on with you at that moment to draw your attention away. Could be good reason, could be a bad reason, but it's usually a reason.
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny. I refuse to get angry in the car now. I haven't for a long time. And I'll catch myself because the first thing I think of is, oh no, I'm not carrying this today. I'm not carrying this energy today.
Yeah. Good for you.
I love myself too much. I am not carrying that energy with me, because you take it in the grocery store. It affects your family. It affects your dog. I mean, it does. It's a fact.
It's true. Energy is a really powerful thing.
Oh God.
And I don't think people often realize how powerful. The example I always use is if you get into an argument with somebody in your space and you come back a couple of hours later and you're in that space again, that argument may just be an inconsequential thing to you now. It's like, it happened. But you walk into that space, that energy is still confined within that space. This is why people clear their spaces, because you kind of wonder, why do I feel so much angst right now? Like, and you're thinking, I've let this go, I've let it go, but it's still there.
Absolutely.
And you might have your pet acting irrationally coming into that space. Like, you project it out. It's so powerful. When they say what you project out will return to you, that's power.
Tenfold.
That is power.
Absolutely. Like last night, there was this thing going around, and I've read about that before. You're supposed to open your front door at midnight and open your back door and let the good energy wipe it. So, I mean, it can't hurt, right?
No, exactly. Exactly. We don't often have control over things that we are presented with. The only thing we have control over is how we react to it, how we deal with it, and how we in turn project it, whether we do or we don't.
Yeah. And Annette, bingo, bingo, bingo.
Yeah.
People don't ruin our peace. Yeah. We choose to give it away. So freaking true.
Yes.
So freaking true.
Yes, exactly. So there's.
And I wanted to ask you about the lockdown in 2020. And I'm not going to say much more other than, we had this forced silent retreat, right? So like for the first time in history, the entire world, it's like bizarre to even say that. It almost doesn't resonate, was forced into stillness.
For some.
For some. For some. I think for the majority though, right? How do you think that affected this awakening that we're going through?
I can use this as an example. People who didn't realize that they were haunted. I got so many messages because they're never home. They had to go to work. Kids were in school.
Right.
But being home all the time, like, I think there's something in my house. There's stuff going on that I've never actually noticed before. But because I'm here, I'm noticing more.
Wow.
And that was one example that I thought was really interesting. And I remember another time, like Wayne and I are just driving down along the river at one point, and I looked across. There's usually so many people on that river, like Niagara, right at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're driving by, there's nobody there, and I'm going, wait a minute, is that a cave? I could see across the border going, that's a freaking cave. And you realize there's a whole pile of freaking caves. All that
Oh my goodness.
but it's stuff that you don't take notice of. We
Yeah.
watch the world go by because we're kept so busy. We don't
Yes.
pay attention to the little finer details. And what became disturbing is seeing I read this article from this doctor, and this doctor is highly respected, and he knew what he was talking about because he was one of the creators of the certain mRNA. And he said many people enlightened over it, others became broken over it.
Yeah.
And
So true.
and with that being said, it was just like, wow, that just that one statement was deep.
Yeah. Very true. Very profound.
But I'd like to think, something that created so much division because you just couldn't see people, right? You just couldn't see them. So the separation occurred, and with that gave a lot of time for pondering. I know when
Mm.
Joe and I started doing the Gray Zone Uncensored, it was kind of like a contribution to people just to say, look, let's do a show. Let's take the information only from the internet. So if people really like the topic, I even gave the sources to everything I used. People could
Mhm.
go back in on their own and research it further. I had
Yeah.
so many messages from people who said, thank you for that, because I felt like I had homework or like I had something to do. And along with that came that opened my eyes,
Yeah.
because we would often even take I got to take in different countries in the world, and all the paranormal
Yeah.
stuff, all the UFO stuff, all the folklore, all the ancient history, and people were just like, "Wow, I learned so much just about this one country." But they dug more and more and more, and it was a fascinating process to see unfold,
Oh, yeah.
because they had the time to delve and enjoyed it. So that's just one example of how people were waking up and allowing that awareness to take hold and to expand on it.
Mm. Yeah, and it's so true what we were talking about before with trauma,
Mhm,
how, you know, r whatever happens in our life that causes us trauma,
mm,
you can either let it grow you spiritually, develop you spiritually, or suffocate you and into retreatism.
mhm,
And, like, I remember during that time, one of the most significant things that was it was like my brain exploded was, I had to say good not to be, morbid here, but
mm,
I had to say goodbye to my husband and hug him
mhm,
in a
mhm.
bodysuit.
I know,
Like, I
I know.
couldn't touch his skin.
Mhm,
They and when I tell you they bodysuit you to
mm,
I felt like I was going to walk on the moon.
yeah,
It was absolute insanity. And, here's everybody standing here in these bodysuits, like trauma, talk about trauma. And it was all for naught. It was absolutely unnecessary to do that to the human race.
it was, but I mean, you can do a whole uncensored show on that
Yeah,
part of it all, but
absolutely.
I think that, with all of that, if there's a lesson to be learned with everything, for humanity,
Yeah.
it's to take more time for yourself, to keep the knowledge wheel always rolling,
Yeah.
and to embrace self-awareness. Look within for everything. Your growth, your evolution, your awakening, everything comes from inside. When you start feeling things like that sense of disconnection, When you
Yeah.
just don't feel connected to anything, you just feel like you don't belong. Sometimes you have this sense of grieving. You don't know why. It's a sense of loss,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Because taking the time to step out of the illusion, and the illusion is everything that you've created for yourself or what society has created for you, whether that comes down to conditioning, whether that comes down to what you've created for yourself, acceptance, maybe, because that's a big thing. What gets created from the powers that be needs acceptance. And
Yes.
acceptance is watching it over and over, not doing anything about it, or embracing it, not realizing it. This is where awareness becomes so important, because otherwise you're allowing that. You're allowing it.
Absolutely.
So don't just allow it. If you wouldn't allow it for yourself, you certainly don't allow it for the next generation, for your kids, or
Yeah.
you know, it's so important, and you have to learn, to move on without ego, and don't be afraid to practice being humble,
Yes.
right? You lose the whole service to self and embrace a service to others.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's just that period of time is so interesting to me because all this stuff started to come out about the multiverse.
Mhm.
Like they talked about even this split that we're experiencing and like a bifurcation of timelines. You
Mm,
never heard this
mhm,
type of conversation. Even I'd say 10 years ago, I never heard of discuss and I'm always reading philosophy and always
mm.
delving into different types of spiritual. I never heard people really talk about, the bifurcation of timelines and living in a multiverse. So, do you think that this new earth journey, this telepathy, this heart-centered awareness is a result in part of what we suffered through since 2020? I mean, it just seems that there's a bridge.
Well, there are many bridges. I think you're getting into quantum stuff when you're looking into quantum immortality
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. It's like a thought experiment. I mean, a multiverse really suggests that consciousness itself doesn't end, and I believe it does not. I think
yeah,
scientists now even say consciousness continues. There's always
right.
at least one timeline that you're going to survive in, right? But I think when you start experiencing the continuity of it, you die at some point in one timeline. So we're going in all these different timelines. If you're getting into even the theory that the soul splits,
Yeah.
if the
Mhm.
soul splits and lives in different timelines, as a soul, as depending how many times it's split, and they start dying off, does it join together with you within the last timeline? Like, there's so many things that you could get into. It
Yeah.
is freaking awesome when you think about it all. But the fact that people do research this, getting into quantum physics and
Yeah.
the unlimited or the ultimate limits, let's say, of just existence itself is crazy. It's crazy because you're getting into that, then you can get into manifestation.
Absolutely. And don't you think it's all tied to spirituality? All of
All of
it.
it. It is.
Yeah.
It's all spirituality, the knowing. It's 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 being complete. It's embracing all of it and bringing it all within us, And I mean, right down to, like I say, if you could do that, you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But you just have to remember, like it we are so I guess conditioned to being individuals that we forget to look at ourselves as a whole.
Oh
Like
gosh.
the I am, the whole I am, we
Yes.
are. I am you, you are us, we are one. I've had spirits tell me that.
Oh,
When I heard that, we're just like, "Oof,"
oh, yeah.
mind blown. It's it's
Absolutely.
but it's a thing. It's a thing. So when do we stop looking at ourselves as I, and start looking at ourselves as we. Some of these shows will they teach you things, right? Like working as a collective. I always go back to Star Trek and the Borg, the collective mind.
Yeah.
Working as a collective, and which was why they were practically foolproof. Just together, a one unit, right? So it's just, I don't know. I think the key is losing the ego. It's embracing the self, but it's also embracing the whole completion, the whole
Because you
everything
want
comes
your
full circle. It comes back together.
absolutely. Absolutely.
The
Like you
whole,
want
embrace the whole.
embrace the whole, but yet still keep your individuality, right, Michelle?
Mhm. We
Yeah.
have to keep your individuality. It's what makes you unique.
Exactly.
But it's okay to do that if as long as you're not, like I say, service to others is so important. I mean, this is why I've always done, what I do is it's just to help others. It's just to, whether and now it's, through the shows and the platform and the outer realm, beyond the outer realm, it's bringing people on who not only are they I've had so many guests that God, I've learned so much talking to you. I'm just like, I learn something new every single time I
Yes.
bring someone on. It's an education, to not just the listeners and the viewers, but to the hosts. We learn
Of
things,
course. Oh gosh.
right?
It's off the hook crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I absolutely it's and it's funny because Heidi had said to me once and it resonated that like because she amazes me that like barely misses a show. And
I
she's such
know. The champ.
and there's a lot of champs like that.
Yeah, we have
In there.
great chat people. We do. The chat
But
family.
she said it was like her life source, like her connection
Yeah.
to you. And it really is. It really is. I totally
I
resonate.
I had one guest say to me, "I would rather watch podcasts
Yeah.
and listen to everyday people with everyday knowledge than listen to a television show that I know in one form or another may be fabricated." I tend to watch documentaries more than anything else
Yeah.
for the same
Yeah.
reason. I do love to watch podcasts and to
Oh
listen
gosh, yeah.
and,
This is why Joe Rogan has like a gazillion followers and I mean, there's,
yeah,
people love it. People
yeah.
love that connection.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about the physical symptoms of awakening, like
Ah,
the anatomy of awakening. So they're saying that it involves literal, and I guess there are studies done on this, literal changes to the human DNA. People are experiencing ascension symptoms, which I love that. I love that. Ringing in the ears, which trips me out. Like that has got to be the trippiest thing to get that ringing thing going on. Sudden changes in diet, time distortions, that their bodies are like adjusting to this new earth frequency. What do you think about that?
oh boy, that's a whole other thing. I think ringing in the ears. I mean,
Yeah.
that could be like frequency that's being put around us. But Wayne makes a good point. For me, hearing music, I've heard music a lot. Like I said, when my mom was
Yeah, we
passing,
just talked about that.
yeah, never more than that time did I ever hear it consistently. But I've often heard music. Bells are huge with me and chimes. Like, I would
Yeah.
hear them randomly, like, in the middle of the day. I'll be sitting there reading, and I would look at Wayne and say, "Did you hear that?" He goes, "What?"
Mm.
I'm like, "I swear to God, I'm hearing bells, or I got a chime, or it's just like sometimes like a doorbell, like a
Mhm.
bells, chimes are huge with me. The ringing in the ears, absolutely. Could could it be tinnitus? Well, they'll tell you that for sure. It's a medical thing for sure. But
Yeah.
I also
Not
think,
intermittent ringing though. If you had
yeah,
constant ringing,
yes,
I'd say sure it's tinnitus, but not
yes.
not when you just hear it like
Uh,
willy-nilly. That's
no,
bull.
no.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be sitting, all of a sudden you hear, you'd be just like,
Oh,
oh
it's
my God.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that a lot. Again, the intense dreams, yes, Wayne and I, intense dreams. For me, visions are big, downloads are big. Um,
Yeah.
like I'll give you an example. The other night, and probably in the wee hours, just falling back asleep. And I'm just like, oh, God, grief, what is this all for? Like, it says, I don't even feel like I'm from here. Where am I from? And all of a sudden, I'm in space,
Mm,
and I'm pretty much awake. Like I'm just sort of
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of going back in, and I could see, all the swirls from the stars and the different systems. And all of a sudden, what started coming at me was this bright light, this ball.
Mm,
And I'm just like, and I knew instinctively to go towards it. And so I start going towards it, but then it starts moving further away from me. And I'm
oh,
like thinking, that's teasing and it's cheating. It's not nice.
right,
So
right.
that's how I felt. But again, it's just I don't think of these things. I will often say, and this has been working with me for quite a few years now, where I'll say, "Show me what I'm supposed to do," and
Mm,
sometimes it's in a form of what I just explained.
yeah,
I'll get a lot of different like visions like that, and that guide me into that direction if I'm supposed to research it. Sometimes I'll be researching something, and all of a sudden, all of this other stuff comes up. I'm like, all right, I guess I've learned that I guess I'm
yeah.
supposed to go into this direction. So I'll
Mm,
sidetrack completely and find a mother load of stuff that I was asking about.
wow.
It's just and I'm asking telepathically, and I imagine there's, different programs out that can pick that up. So, because I don't just go talk to the phone and say, "Hey," because somebody's listening. It's not like that. It's something that is within myself, and I'm just like, you're part of your personal growth. You just know synchronicities. Oh my God, I see
Yeah, it's great.
synchronicities all the time. All the time. Once you see them and you become aware of them, you don't unsee them.
You
They're
don't see
there
them.
all the time. And that is the universe's way or our creator's way, however you want to look at it, of showing you
Exactly.
what
Well,
you're asking for.
you're asking, show me, and
Yes.
that's what you're getting.
Don't
The
be afraid
universe,
to ask.
right?
Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah. And I think we have some time left. I
Oh,
wanted to
sure we
ask
do.
you about um 2025 seems to be this year of alignment. A lot of people are asking, like, why now? And they're turning to things like numerology, astrology. Never been my strong suit, but I have an interest in it. But for numerology, you got 2025. So nine is a year, which is 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. And there's this whole numerological thing that signifies the end of a cycle, a total completion, right? In the world of numerology. So it's the final clearance before new beginning. And then with astrology, you've got major planets like Pluto, Uranus, shifting air and fire, signs, density, that the world, the old world, I guess you could say, is like being burned away, and it's making it easier for the veil to be thin. What's your take on all that? Do you think that plays into the like this great awakening?
I think astrology's always been there. Mathematics. Tesla said it's all mathematics, all of it.
Mm,
So it's a combination of both. I think we are reaching out more for answers, and that's a good way to do it because it doesn't lie. I think a lot of it is a matter of how it's perceived.
mm.
Um, a age of awakening. There's a lot of things coming. There are cycles that keep happening. The planets will tell you that. They've used astrology and they've used numerology for astrology, especially thousands of years, thousands of years. Um, it's not new. I think those who are waking up are looking maybe to they say, oh, this is new age stuff. No, it's always been there. It's always been there. I find it enlightening in a way that people are wanting to explore these ways, but the
Oh
conditioning
yeah,
tells you no. That's
right.
that's just stepping away from religion at that point. Don't do it. It's witchcraft. It's
Ah,
um, you know,
drives me nuts.
I
Yeah,
know, but this
and
is exactly correct.
I'm laughing at Wayne's Comment 5 years before the great reset button gets pressed and we all get to be plain old stupid again. Could you imagine if that were the case? Like all this work, all this research, everything we're doing, and then we get a reset and we're just like Wayne said, back to stupid again.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, usually resets happen. Sometimes it's over cataclysm. So we need to start looking at cycles that we're entering into that may be leading to a whole reset. We've been reset many, many times. There's Tartaria is a perfect example. Look it up. It's on ancient maps. And all of a sudden, it's like it never existed, right? It's not uncommon for cultures to build over top of the ruins of ancient cultures and their predecessors. But there are things that we, burn those books. There are things that we don't acknowledge, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But if you start buying antique books and you start reading old encyclopedias,
mind blowing.
like that, the information is there. The old world atlases, it's all there. So, but I mean, I think there's, a belief of cataclysm coming again. That's a reset in itself. And that's going to, maybe a big purge coming as well, via cataclysm. So sometimes, again, this is stuff that powers that be are well aware of, and they are making their own arrangements, for survival, while the rest of us are so distracted that we just don't know what's going to hit us. But is that necessarily a bad thing? Would you want to live in an ice age? Would you want to live in time of hardship and Mad Max days? And I don't know. It's like a double-edged sword, So
no, I'm good. I'll step off this rock, no problem. Do you think that the death of self is, the death of ego is the price of admission into, so to say, into this new earth? Like, can you describe how facing like our darkest paranormal fears, and I use the word paranormal because I can't think of another better word to use, that it acts as like a cleansing for this transition? Like, do you think you have to have ego death, the death of the ego, in order to transition into the higher planes of consciousness? And if so, how do we get there? Like, what's the best way? I mean, we all want faster results. We're meditating, we're doing everything, we're being better people, we're treating people better, we're studying, reading, researching. Like, what else can we do, Michelle?
I think we do have to let go of the ego. I think it's like a boat anchor, because it's so much about the self, and I think it's important to let it go because it has to be, as a whole. How many times have you heard something for the greater good, of all? It's just, we have to kind of look at things like that. Some people will tell you, the death of the ego is like a ritualistic thing, right? Like it's just a stage, and it can often feel like it's like I've heard it mentioned, like the dark night of the soul. Like it's really in debt, a space where nothing brings joy or meaning anymore, which means like, so just in that comment, if it doesn't bring joy anymore, or death or meaning or joy or meaning, that does it mean that it's everything is superficial with it? Because when you let go of that old self, because nothing fits anymore with the new, right? And you have the newer version of self, which has maybe not quite emerged, but it's sort of like a pause for a little bit, while the soul perhaps is getting ready to evolve. Ego death isn't the end of you per se. It's just the end of an illusion. And it's probably that illusion that has separated many people from love, from source, God,
Absolutely.
from peace, from authenticity, like this quiet knowing, which has really always been there. So some people will say, no, it's okay to have ego as long as we place ourselves at the same level, not higher than, because it's sort of an instrument of the soul. a
It is.
transformation, right? From vices to
Absolutely.
virtues. So
Yeah.
I really think it's a matter of how you are, again, how do you perceive it? If you are governed and ruled by your ego and your decisions are based on ego, then you need to maybe look at doing something entirely different, because if it's not working, if you're a hamster on a wheel, it's time
Yeah.
to be, I'm such a strong advocate for service to others, not service to self. I just feel that, wars have been waged over egos and backroom deals and just,
Oh, oh,
religions. And I mean, crying out loud, there has to be a separation re- of the individuality at some point. It's just like, we're the human race. We're humans. We're humans on good old planet Earth. At the end of the day, that's what we are. We're human beings. We live here. We coexist. It's just like, can we not all have individuality to that point? Like, there has to be something that just keeps us unified, common
and it seems
ground.
absolutely, and it seems like religion is the biggest barrier to
Mhm.
get to this global consciousness. It's just too much, and it's been for thousands of years, right? It's always been about religion primarily.
Governments, religion, I think we've been led to believe that we, the people, have power in voting and things like that. We don't really have the power, and there's a government much higher than the government that we see. I mean, it's never a coincidence that you see all of these countries doing pretty much the same thing. It's just,
Yeah,
right down to the news that you're listening to. Most of it is scripted. They all say the same thing,
absolutely.
different networks saying the same thing. It's just, all the world is a stage. That's the best way I can put it. All the world is a stage. And
Abso-freaking-lutely.
and I think, if we can take back our power, then maybe you stand a chance. But sometimes it's bigger than who we are. So all we can do is work at ground level, and that is working on ourselves, being the best that we can be, educate ourselves, try to evolve ourselves out of this place, you know, think about after the fact, because our time here is very minimal compared to the grander
Absolutely.
scheme
The
of
grain of
eternity
sand.
and realities and multiverses, whatever the case may be. It's bigger than us being in the now.
Perfectly said. And you can't blame people for being angry either. The ego death goes kicking and screaming too, because we're humans first and
Mhm,
foremost. So, Foot Clan, does that say? Oh,
mhm.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Every day, the American people are satanically ritualized, I guess,
Mm.
abused on the television, told lies, and made a mockery of as their resources are stolen right out of their paycheck. I mean, these are like you said earlier, Michelle, it's tough
It is tough.
surviving.
It is.
And
But
there's, you know,
do they keep you that way
anger,
though? Yeah,
uh,
Caroline, do they keep you that way? Do they keep you that way
perfectly said.
to keep the angst going?
Perfectly
Because
said.
it's a machine now, right? It's a machine that keeps going. So is that something that is, you know,
That's
you
what
just
they
have to
want.
look outside the box. Just step out of the box for a moment and look into from the outside looking in. Look at the big picture. Just look up over and really look at it.
And I
Yeah.
love that as advice for folks too, because it's so easy to get wrapped up
Mhm.
in all of this. And this is why a lot of people go off the grid. They
Sure.
just pick themselves up and go to Alaska or somewhere, right off the grid
Mhm.
because they want out of this mess.
Mhm.
They want out of it. And I don't
Yeah.
blame them.
No. No. And the theory that things get worse before they get better. It's like, oh man, okay. you know, there's a lot to factor in. And like I say, we don't have control over what happens around us. We have control. All we have control over is how we perceive it, how we handle it,
Absolutely.
how we project it. So it comes down to us, our actions. That's pretty much it. That's all we actually have control over. So,
What would you
survival.
like to see for yourself spiritually moving forward? Like what, everybody has struggles. We all struggle with things. But where do you see your growth spiritually heading towards, if that makes sense?
I work on spirituality. I work on my growth every single day because it is a lot of it is a lot of undoing conditioning. It's not allowing myself to feel divided from other people. I can like, I'll just name, I got a neighbor who I am not fond of, right? But it's like I keep trying to find it within myself to just be like, okay, that's on her. Because
Right.
I don't not like people on an average because I try to remove that from myself. So for me, it is a constant state of evolution. I enjoy the energy work that I do, you
Mm,
know, like all the time is something that keeps that evolution moving forward. And it's a matter of being able to keep moving forward, not going take one step forward, not taking two steps back,
exactly.
and taking as many people with me as I can.
Oh, I love that.
That's the big one. It's making sure that I can take, my family with me, my friends. It's just taking anybody who wants to come along. That's what the shows are all about. The shows are about educating people. We don't all have to agree. We don't have to, we
Exactly.
can disagree. It's okay to disagree. We don't have to like the topic. We don't have to like where it's going. But maybe, just maybe, if we could take even one thing out of it, then like, you know what? Okay, that's okay. I got this out of it. I'm okay with that. Hey,
Mhm.
Collie. So it's just a matter of that, it's just continuation, moving forward.
I love how you said to take your loved ones and people that wanna come with you on that journey.
I want to
That's
bring you all on the journey,
yeah,
and sometimes those of us who are in a position to be on a public platform, and
yeah,
especially here at UPRN, like we have, people don't realize it's not just what you're seeing on video here. Our international audio listenership is so much bigger because we've been around 25 years. We have
jeez.
access to many, many servers that we pay into
Yeah,
as a network. And with that being said, we're in a position of due diligence in a way to represent not just the network, but our one another, and to try to be a spokesperson for
mm.
for positive, as much positive content as possible anyway, right?
It's all about love and light.
All of it. All of it.
This was such a great conversation, Michelle.
Thank you. I always
Thank
have
you
fun with you.
so
We
much.
always we always have good conversations.
We do. I particularly love this one. This one was great.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nice. It's a feel good conversation.
it is, it truly is.
It's
And
a
I think
feel
to
good.
start the new year, it was really perfectly timed.
Yeah.
A lot of us are worried about moving into this new year.
Yes.
We had a lot of hopes for last year. It didn't quite turn out the way we
Yeah.
had hoped, but
Yeah.
it wasn't all that bad though either. Gratitude, right?
Yes. No,
Yeah,
I you know what? We have to get through some rough water sometimes just to get to where we have to
yeah,
get to the pinnacle, to the light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever the case may be, I guarantee you that it will happen a lot easier if
mm,
everybody does it together, and
absolutely.
just a collective consciousness drives a lot
Yes.
of what we're feeling right now. So if everybody took one positive thought, just one, Even if 1% of the world population, just 1%, put positive thoughts into the collective consciousness, you would start to see a difference. When I do energy work with people, I notice it. I just start watching.
Oh, of course.
And I notice it. And that's just certain individuals. It happens all over the world. But if everybody started doing it, you would notice a difference. Take the time. Consider it homework. Experiment. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
If anything, you're putting more positive back into your own life because what you put out there comes back to you 100%.
Kind of like throwing the word swell out there, and then seeing it every
swell. Love it. It is.
Hysterical. So what do you have coming up? I know you got a banger for tonight. I'm so excited.
Oh, well, tonight Wayne and I are having an open discussion on, the lore and traditions of New Year's, but then we're going to get into superstitions and ghostly tales that surround themselves around New Year's. So that's going to be tonight. And of course, Monday night, back with Ron Moorhead and Daryl Denton for another Two Real Cryptid Legends podcast. So that's going to be coming up right away. People have been waiting for that one. It's coming. And of course, check social media because we share all over the place. We do.
That's 9 o'clock tonight, right, Michelle?
Tonight is 9 p.m. Eastern. Yes.
Yeah.
We're just going to have some fun. We want to spend New Year's with you guys. Chat room always goes crazy, so we love it.
Yes. And speaking of, I loved everyone's comments in here tonight. I was trying to keep up with them. They're just brilliant. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. I love when you guys pop in and speak your words of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And tomorrow, real quick, I have Elisa Wells on, and we're going to be talking about heeding the call of the sacred wild, spirits of stone, places, plants, and places. So that's tomorrow at 3 p.m. ET. So if you can pop in, I'd greatly appreciate it. Michelle, I love you dearly. As always, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. It gave me chills through the whole thing. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you tonight on the Outer Realm.
Yes, we'll be there. Be square.
All right.
Thank you, everyone in the chat. Love you dearly. And thank you, United Public Radio Network. We love you. Bye-bye, everyone.